Hello and welcome to the Twitch and Stitch podcast. I'm Marsha, also known as Very Little on Instagram and Ravelry, and I just want to say a massive welcome to the Twitch and Stitch podcast, and welcome back to any previous subscribers, and welcome to anybody who's new. I'm recording from the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia, Canada, and this is my knitting podcast. We have a few cows going on right now. We have two. One's just finishing up, and it is the color work cowl, and I'm co-hosting this with KT from Inside Number 23, and her podcast will be linked below if you're interested. She has a knitting and sewing podcast, and it is a lot of fun. She gives a lot of detail. I just realized I don't have my glasses on. She does a lot of things. She's working on a handmade wardrobe, which I find very interesting. That's something that I would really like to do, and I've actually gotten started. I've been making my own clothes for quite a while, and this year with knitting, it has just built up my collection of hand knits and handmade, and I'm really trying to make my own things. And the color work cowl ends today, so it's December 1st, so it ends today, and I'll be closing that thread later today, so by the time this goes up, it will have already been closed. And I have another cowl that's going on right now, and it is the Project Whip cowl, and it is in full swing. Jenny from the Lone Larch podcast has joined me, and so has Sue, who is Knit24, and Chelsea, who is Chelsea Knits on Instagram. And they have the Legacy Knits podcast. They've joined me as well, and we are doing a joint collaboration, works in progress cowl, and it is to get everything off the needles by January 1. And boy, do I have my work cut out for me, because I haven't been knitting as much in the last couple weeks and doing more around the house, organizing and downsizing and stuff. I have quite a bit to get done, and I will show you. I'm going to go through all that in a little bit, so you will get to see every work in progress that I have to get off the needles. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has supported my blustery shawl, which came out last month on the 15th of November. It has sold like crazy. There was a little bit of an issue earlier this week with PayPal. So if anybody experienced that where it said I couldn't accept money, that has all been sorted out now. So deeply apologize if anybody has run into that problem with trying to purchase my shawl. What happened was PayPal is based in the States, I do believe, and they requested my social security number for the US, and I'm not American, so I didn't think I needed to do anything, and in fact, they froze my account, so I needed to go in and say, in fact, that I'm not an American citizen and that I don't have a social security number, and it's all sorted out, and long story short, well, long story long, it's dealt with. So if you tried to purchase my shawl during, I think it was a 2 or 3 day period, and you were unable to, it's all worked out now, so there should be no problem with it. So, but thank you for everybody who did purchase it. So as you can see, I am in my new craft room, and it's lovely. This is my sewing desk. And I've got some candles lit, and I have a diffuser going with some nice lavender scent. And this right here is a collection of thimbles that all look like little tiny houses. That was my mom's. So it's getting pride of place because it was her collection, and she collected thimbles, and I have the rest of her thimbles that she has up there. You can't see it. You'll see it in the tour of my craft room. But yes, so, and a lot of those thimbles I actually purchased for her when I was traveling around the world. And so there's quite a few in there that were from me for her. And so I still have them. That was a sentimental thing that I just wanted to keep, and I wanted to honor her memory because she was definitely a crafty person. And actually, like, I didn't realize how much of an impact that had on my life until the last 5 years when I haven't had her around, and realizing how crafty I am, and that I owe all of that to her, which is awesome. So that's her little collection, and I'll show that in the video a little bit closer. Also, a little bit more housekeeping. When I did the Canada cowl, I'd been given an additional prize that because of the state of my craft room, I didn't realize I hadn't given it away. And so I've drawn a name for it, and it's for the Canada Cal that ended in September, I want to say. The end of September, maybe. And it was just knitting with Canadian yarn, Canadian designers, etc. But a Canadian bag maker sent me a bag with Canadian motifs on it. And I did show this when it was sent, but then I put it away and I forgot to pull it out. So I have drawn for that winner now. It was Creative Mojo, who is Joanne, and she has the Creative Mojo podcast. And I got the opportunity to meet her when Syl and I went to Calgary this summer, and it was amazing. She's such a lovely person. She's hilarious. We met up with her at Carla's place, and this bag it's very cute. It's a pull string bag. I'll show you. Let's pop it out. And she has an Etsy store as well, and it's creativemojo.etsy.com. And this is the bag. So it would be perfect for a small shawl or socks or something. And it's got the flat bottom and it's the drawstrings. I'm not going to draw them because I don't want to wrinkle up the top. But very nicely made. It's just the plain cream on the inside, which is very nice. That way you can see everything that's in your bag. And she included a little pin, which is super cute. So that is going to be going to, I drew the name, and the winner of this cute little bag is Glenda. So Glenda has a podcast as well, and I was very surprised when I pulled her name. I did random.org, as I always do, and Glenda was at Sorrento, and she was also at Knit City. She lives in the Vancouver area, and that's where she podcasts from, and she has the Wet Coast Wools yarn store and podcast that she co-hosts with Bernadette, and just a lovely, 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 lovely lady. And so I'm super excited to be sending this to you, Glenda. It's super Canadian, and you're super Canadian, so so congratulations, Glenda. I will ship this out to you, so just get a hold of me with your mailing address and I'll send it right to you. So I don't have a lot of knitting to show you today. I did finally pick up a pair of socks that was a work in progress, and so there's a couple reasons why I've been doing a lot of knitting. I have been doing a lot of organizing and decluttering and cleaning, but also because of the amount of color work that I have been doing over the last month, my right wrist, because of how I do my color work, I use my primary color in my right hand and my secondary color in my left hand. So that means like the background color, the one that you do the most knitting with, is with my right hand, and then the motif would be with my left hand. So my right hand is why I had to stop crocheting, because of the motion. And so it's actually been causing me more discomfort. It's not pain, but I used to experience quite a bit of pain when I was crocheting, but it is definitely getting tired quicker, and it's also I'm fighting numbness and tingliness in it, which I've never really had before. So I know that's a sign, because I do have tendonitis, that the tendonitis is acting up, and I need to be stretching more, and I need to relax that hand a little bit more, give it a bit of a break. So I switched back to doing some socks, which I knit continental style because of my right wrist issue, and it's making a big difference. So this is opal sock yarn that was given to me by the lovely Carla of the Knit Nicks podcast, and I have been knitting on these. I started them right after we went to Alberta, and then I put them down, and I put in the heel last night, and then I've been just knitting down since then. So yeah, so I've knit that much. I just spent a couple hours and just relaxing knitting. I'm trying to do more motions with my left hand versus my right hand, so it's kind of more just sitting there. It's a little bit slower than I normally knit, but I need to do what I need to do to continue knitting. So So this is, the heel that I used is the Kiss the Partridge heel. And it is very similar to, it's very similar to the Eye of Partridge heel. She actually references the Eye of Partridge heel in her pattern. And it is by Shauna Stitches, or Shauna Wood. And you can purchase this pattern on Ravelry, and I think it's just $1. I would recommend that you get, if you haven't already got the Eye of, or the, if you haven't already gotten the Fish Lips Kiss heel, I would recommend you purchase that. That one's only $1, and it's got measurements in it and everything you need for measuring this sort of heel. And this pattern was taken, there's quite a bit of information from there. It's written a little bit differently. And so I would recommend you get that pattern so that you can do the measurements and everything. And this is just a different way of doing the heel, and it just gives it gives the Eye of Partridge, and it just gives a really cool little look. And so having both of them together is, it's really good. It's gravy essentially. It's very cool, and I enjoyed the knit. One thing that I really like is how the stitches are done at the corners. There are no holes. That's something that I would, well, this one has a little bit of a hole, but that's not like what I would normally get from the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And the how it's knit along the edge, with the Eye of Partridge, I get the Fish Lips Kiss heel, I get a little bit of holes in here because I don't pull it as tight as it needs to, but because of how this is knit, I don't get any holes. So there's, yeah, so there's that. So I'm working on these. They should be done this week. So this is one of my works in progress for Project Whip. And I'm going to, I don't have any finished objects that I can show you. I do have finished objects. They are just, and I did do quite a bit of knitting on them. They're just designs. So I'm going to be contacting some test knitters to get those out, and hopefully one of them I can have out by Christmas is my hope. Okay, so on to the things that I need to finish. And it's in no particular order. These are things that I started even 2 years ago. So there's a pile here, and I'll show you in my works. I'll show you in the tour video. Some of these I can't show you because they are designs. So far I have 2 designs down here that I can't show you. This is my Okanagan Orchard. And I've taken it off the needles because this was the original one I did, and it wasn't, I was using, oh, it's a Japanese yarn. What is it? So I'm using Noro, and if you've ever knit with Noro, this is what I was originally designing it with. If you've ever knit with Noro, it doesn't rip back very well. So this one that I'm working on was knit in Noro, but it was also my first go at knitting this design. Like, this is the one I was designing with. So it's actually changed quite a bit. The actual design is there's a bunch of differences from this, and it's I couldn't rip it back when I was designing to like change things or whatever I needed to do. So I just cast it on in something else, but I'm going to finish this. I love these bright colors. They're so pretty, and they just are really homey to me. I don't know. I really like the colors, and Noro just puts colors together really well. So yeah, so that's one I have to finish, and it's lace weight yarn, and I'm not halfway done yet. So that is still, there's a lot of knitting left on here. Hopefully that'll get off the needles. This was a sweater that I just cast on and was just knitting. It's a super like light, and it's knit with 100% wool, and it has no pattern. I just did a swatch and did measurements and just started knitting. It was just a thing to knit. I might just rip this out actually. So that might go in the frog pile, and then I'll take my needles out, because my goal is definitely to have clear needles for January 1, because I just have so much going on. There's a couple things that will be left on the needles, like my sock blanket, my fingering weight sock blanket. That will be still on the needles because that's an ongoing project as I get more yarn. Now this, I'm knitting, I'm using Knitter's Pride Basics, and they're 25 millimeter US 50s. And this was, I cast this on and it's almost done. I just need to just sit down and do it. And it's this wool, I think it's 100% Canadian wool, and you can buy these at our yarn stores here. They just come in big flat cakes now. This is how they used to come. It was a de-stash from somebody, and so this isn't how they come anymore. They come in like cakes that are like that big and about that high, I think. But I cast this on because Kay from the Bakery Bears cast a cowl on in massive yarn, and I thought I would be cheeky and cast something on as well. And so I started making a cardigan. It's got the big sleeve holes, and it's huge. It is huge, and it was so fast to knit. I think this is 2 hours worth of work, and I could finish it very quickly if I wanted to. I just haven't. And I don't know if I'm going to frog this or if I'm going to finish it. And actually what I've been thinking is that I might frog it and knit with tighter needles and do a cabled cushion out of the gray maybe. But I don't know. When I get to this one, then I will decide. I'm going to say it's probably going to get frogged, actually. So, work in progress. Either finish it or frog it, I guess. And I have another cardigan here that I started knitting in Sorrento, and this is my own design. So it's got some lace in it, and it is very cute. And the yarn is Knit Picks. Yeah, it's super cute. The yarn is Knit Picks, and it is Hawthorne Sport in the Fremont colorway. And this one I definitely want to finish. It knits fairly quickly for me, so I'm very excited about that. And I keep thinking about knitting on it, and then I keep not knitting on it, and I just need to just do it because it is super cute. And I have it in this massive bag. I can't remember where I got this bag. It was on Etsy, but the designer of this bag, it's for cross stitch, so it fits a cross stitch frame in here, and then she sent a thing that goes around your cross stitch just to keep the edges of your work or embroidery clean. So I just have that massive bag. Now this is not a work in progress. I have just yarn sitting in here for something. So that one is going to get cleaned out. Perfect. And this is in my Lone Larch bag by Jenny. And this is my Schmancy shawl, but this is the very first version of it that I was making. And the yarn is, undead yarn, and it's in the Dino colorway, 70% alpaca, 20% silk, 10% cashmere, and it's 437 yards in a fingering weight. And then the white is Barocco Folio, and it is alpaca and rayon. And these needles are high sharps. And this is the original design I had designed on it, but I just felt like it was too busy, I feel like. So it's got the panels, and the panels have diamonds on it, and maybe I'll write it up still. I don't know if there would be interest for that. Scylla says sometimes my designs get a little bit too intricate. So I simplified the schmancy, and I'm just doing the edging. So that's where I am on this, is just doing the fancy edging, and that's one repeat of the edging. So that one will take a little while to finish the edging because it's quite long, but because it's cashmere, it is so soft, and it's nice and just, oh, so drapey. I love it. So that one needs to get done. The next one is in my Downton Abbey bag, and there's two designs in here that I can't show you, so those I need to finish. And this is the bag is by T. Schmidt, so Terry Schmidt, and it's Bags by Terry, and I love this bag, and I actually purchased two. I got one for myself, and I purchased one for a friend because his bags are so well made and they're so pretty. And here's a bag of bags, so that's not a project. And this one again is another Okanagan Orchard, and it is farther along, and it is in Noro again. So I just need to finish this one. And it's almost done. I think there's one more. Nope, it's almost done, and then I just have to do the edging. So it blocks out really large, but yeah, it's almost done. So this one I just need to sit down and do, and I'll just make a list of all of the ones that I need to work on and get them all done. My husband's going away next week, so I should be able to get quite a bit of knitting done. This one is knit in Ancient Arts yarn, and this is my planned pooling scarf that I've been working on, and I had to put it away again because it was starting to be a little bit crazy again, so it was getting difficult for me to keep the pooling where it needed to be, so I put it away so that I wouldn't get frustrated. And see, that's where it originally started pooling differently, which is fine. So this is my first planned pooling project, and these are Nova Platinas, I do believe, in 5.5 millimeters. And this is just a variegated yarn, so it would be any kind of skein that looks like, for example, this. So this would be one section, this lighter gray would be another section, and then the white would be another section. So that's what it's based on, is yarn like this. And this is actually not, or like this one. So this one has 3 definite colors or 4 definite colors. So you'd just do the pooling so that those sections would stay together. So this is not a pattern that I have gotten. This is just something that I have made, and it is actually almost done. So I have about that much yarn left. So I might even just do a couple more rows and then cast it off I could call that done. So that's going to be worked on. This episode's a little bit different than my normal episode. Usually it's works in progress, finished objects, and a little bit of chit chat. Okay, here's a big one. Still have not done the Kitchener stitch on the armpits, underarms. Still have not done the Kitchener stitch on the underarms, which I could probably just do right now and then it would be done. So maybe I'll do that. Set that one aside. And that is the Boreal sweater, and I don't have the, oh, there it is. The Boreal sweater by Kate Davies. And it was a lot of fun to work with. It is a beautiful yarn. It is Custom Woolen Mills from Alberta, and I purchased that while I was there. The one thing that I will say is that there were quite a few little knots in one of the plies, and it was probably alternating plies, but in the beginning on certain skeins, it wasn't on all the skeins, but there was quite a few knots in just one of the plies as you went on. And I just kept knitting, and you can't see them, but I just want to give you a forewarning that there were quite a few in that yarn, but it turned out okay. Now this is still in the same place it was the last time you saw it, and it is the Farrar Raglan. That's the Farrar Raglan, and I'm knitting it in primarily Cascade Heritage Silk is the primary color, or the primary yarn, and the secondary yarn is the Knit Pick Stroll Brights because I didn't have quite enough. So this one just needs 2 sleeves and ends woven in and to be blocked, and I might take out the bottom after I've blocked it. I'm going to see if it has enough length after I blocked it, but if it doesn't, I will take out, I'll recast on the bottom and then just continue in the 1x1 rib till it's the length that I need it to be, because it feels a little bit short. I'm long-waisted, so hopefully it'll block out longer. If it doesn't, I'll just add length in the ribbing because I don't mind a longer ribbing. So that one needs to be done. Another pattern I've been working on is the Blackberry Cardigan by Alexandra Charlotte Defoe. I don't want to show you too much, but it's a cardigan that comes down, and I think in the pictures, I think it's purple, I would like to say, but it's not purple in the one that I'm doing. And I'll just show you in a second. And I just try to stay organized, so there's a couple different charts that I have to do. And so this is how I stay organized as to where I am and what I've done for each of the patterns and what that looks like. So this is where I am on this one. And it is on my Hiya Sharps. It is in McCausland Woolen Mill yarn. That's the back. This is the front. And this is what it looks like. I'm just starting where the sleeves are, and this is probably the last time I showed it to you. It was right here. So this is the back of the cardigan, and it's very pretty. I like it in this red, and I had to go down a couple needle sizes to get gauge, so it's a little bit tight on my hands. That's probably the main reason I put it down, is because it's a little bit hard on my hands. And this is 100% wool, and it is very sheepy. So it smells very sheepy, but it's really nice to work with. The cables just pop like crazy. So I'm really happy about that. So that is another one that is a work in progress. I'm showing them all to you because this needs to inspire me to get them done. So this is a big project, what I'm about to show you. And I started knitting this over a year ago as well. And it is a blanket. And this blanket is for my husband. And it's using Tumphy wool, which is, let me see here. 50% wool and 50% high bulk acrylic. So it's acrylic and wool, and it is coming along beautifully. It looks great. It is massive. There are a lot of stitches on the needles, so each row takes forever. And so I was doing it a little bit while I was on Scylla's. I was working on it when I was walking on Scylla's treadmill. Then it got too heavy and it kept falling off. So it just became a tripping hazard. So I put it down again. So that's another thing that I need to finish. It is looking gorgeous though. I'm super happy with it. It's really pretty. And I have a ton of yarn, so this will be a great stash buster as well. So Christmas is coming. I'm very excited about that. And one of my New Year's resolutions that I'm coming up with now, and I've been thinking about it all year long, is to try to knit from stash completely. I really would like to try to knit from stash and go through all of my yarn and find projects for all of it. So I have a sweaters quantity there that in the tour of my craft room you'll see there's a pattern sitting on top of, because that's one of the projects I'd like to do next. And it has its purpose. So I'm going to see if I can just knit from stash and try to get my stash down. And there's a kind of a time limit. It probably would be knitting from stash until Knit City next year, or Rhinebeck if I can go to that. I'm hoping I will be able to, but that's still in the works and I still need to just figure out the logistics of that. And if I'll come with my sister or come with my husband, I don't know yet. So that's kind of in the background of my mind and planning for that. But until that point, I would really like to just knit from stash and see if I can get my stash whittled down as well. Like I said before, I went through my stash and I pulled out a whole bunch of yarn that I haven't knit with and I don't feel like I would knit with, and I've added some of those to like my giveaway bin, and I've added some of those to a giveaway bin. So so giveaway to you or giveaway. And some of the ones that are to giveaway are things that I have started knitting with and didn't necessarily enjoy, or it wasn't working out how I wanted, so there's negative feelings attached to that yarn. So when I look at it, I say, ugh. So anything that essentially didn't bring me joy has gone into that bin. So the giveaway bin for prizes, like the prize giveaway yarn, is beautiful yarn. It has never been knit with. It has never tried to become anything, and it's just I don't see myself knitting with it. The other yarn is stuff that probably has been caked up. It may have been something in a previous life, or tried to be something in a previous life, and that stuff I just have some yarny friends that I'm going to invite over, and they can just take whatever they want, and then whatever's left I will just donate. And so I'm looking forward to that. I really love the feeling when I am passing things on, so I kind of get addicted to that feeling. So I have a special returning guest, and I would just like to welcome her now, and she has a finished object to show you, and I am so excited and so amazingly proud of her for doing this, because I have been bugging her for over a year to cast one on, and let's see who it is. You're my special guest.
I'm so excited to be here today.
Welcome, Scylla!
Yay! Thank you for having me, Marcia.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming again. It's good to see you.
And anytime you want me to come, 6 months notice and I'll be here.
Exactly. It's perfect. Perfect timing. So you are my special guest with a special finished object.
I'm really excited.
Because I had no finished objects that I could show.
You had no? I have 3. Can I show all 3 then?
No. I don't have time for 3.
Yes, of course you can. I'm so proud of
That's not what we planned on. So.
I know. So if you remember back to before I became a ghost, Marcia was trying to convince me that I needed to make a sweater.
Yeah.
And socks.
Yeah.
And a sweater.
Yeah.
And socks.
Yeah.
But moreover, I needed to make a sweater.
It's true.
So I thought about a sweater and I picked out a sweater and I couldn't find the right yarn to go with that sweater.
Let's just pause here for a second.
Okay.
Scylla is my sister. For those of you who haven't watched previous episodes, we started the podcast together and she became very busy and she's a psychologist and helps all the people and just didn't have the time or the energy to put into the podcast. So I went rogue and she is here as my special guest today to share her finished object with you. Object to sa. Okay.
All right,
continue.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be back.
So you have a finished object.
I do have a finished object. So Marcia spent a lot of time trying to convince me to build a sweater.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked out some yarn for a sweater. Or I picked out a sweater, but I hadn't been able to find the yarn I wanted to do that sweater in. And so when we were at Knit City in October, I picked out, I purchased some yarn there, and I met, I'm going to fangirl for a minute.
Okay, pause for a second. Okay. I was looking for a project to work on while you talk, because I forgot I can do that.
You can.
And I'm looking totally like all over the place, not looking interested. I'm like...
That's when you talk.
I was interested, I was just looking for my knitting.
I know, I feel the same way sometimes. Oh. And I don't remember what I was talking about.
Fangirling.
Oh, so, yeah, so I'm going to fangirl here for a minute. When we were at Knit City, I got to meet, wait for it, Jane Richmond.
Yay!
And if any of you remember when I was first doing the podcast, I kept knitting this same toque over and over and over again. So every time I'd have a finished object or a work in progress, it would be the Kathleen by Jane Richmond. And
it's your favorite.
It is my favorite. I love it. It's how I learned to do cables. If you're looking for a toque, or a hat, or a
beanie
or a knitted cap. I think those are all the terms. In Canada, we call it a toque.
Yeah.
But so if you're looking for a toque to make, that one's a super easy pattern, and it's really awesome, and it looks fantastic. But what I found is she had made a sweater. I've made a sweater. She had a pattern for a sweater, but she also had one hanging up. And I looked.
So where are we?
We're at Knit City. So back to Knit City. So we're at Knit City, and I see Jane Richmond's booth. And I see Jane, and I'm like fangirling, but kind of shy about it. I'm like, I don't want to be that creepy stalker. I'm going to walk around your booth like 7 times and wait till you're not talking to somebody so I can tell you how awesome I think you are.
You don't want to be that, but you're totally being that.
Yeah, I was totally being that. And so I told her about the toque I made, and she let me try on her sweater, and I bought the pattern for it because I loved it. It was the Clark.
Yeah.
I'll pull it out in just a second. So it was the Clark. And then I told her I was going to come back the next day and get her to sign my Kathleen pattern because I didn't want her to sign the new Clark pattern I just bought because I hadn't knit it yet. But I knew I loved the Kathleen, and I was pretty sure I'd love anything done by Jane Richmond, and I do. And we're BFFs on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, BFFs.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane. And she follows me.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
You should have seen Scylla's face when Jane followed her. She was like,
ah! Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah, we're BFFs. Jane follows me now.
So cute.
That's right. She's my fan.
Not really.
So, I'm going to show you. I feel like this is a nailed it moment.
Yeah. Pinterest
nailed it. So this is the pattern. It is the Clark by the awesome and talented Jane Richmond. She designed it in 2005. It's available online at janerichmond.com. Or you can probably purchase it in some other stores in some places. But either way, if you Google it, you'll find it because it's awesome. And when you're Googling it, make sure you spell Clark with an E. I spent a long time spelling it wrong, and I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't see anyone's finished projects on Ravelry. I was getting hats and other things. So Clark with an E. And I know you're excited. I know you're so excited, because I'm so excited. Ready, ready, ready? Make sure it's facing the right direction. And boom!
Yay!
My very, very first sweater. It was super, super easy and super intuitive.
How long did it take you?
A week and a half.
See, Scylla can knit a sweater in a week and a half.
I knit this in a week and a half, and it brought me
working.
so much joy. And I was working, so I was only knitting in the evenings.
Yeah.
And I'm not the fastest knitter. Like, I would say I'm not a fast knitter.
I would say I'm not a fast knitter.
No. And I'm a tight knitter, too. So it called for 4s and 4.5s.
Yeah.
And I had to actually go up to 5s and 5.5s.
Do you know what brand needle you were using?
I do. I was using Addy Interchangeables because I love Addies. And so this yarn I actually picked up at Knit City too. It's 100% merino. It smells nice. You want to smell it? You like to smell yarn?
Yeah. Mm.
I'm like, you should probably smell the armpit because I wore it once.
It doesn't smell like yarn. It smells like you.
It does smell like me.
Aurora would say it smells like Snuggles.
It smells like Snuggles. It smells like anti-Snuggles. But yeah, so I wore it once. And I love it. And I'm going to wear it again.
There you go.
So the yarn I knitted out of was called Be So Brave Yarns. And it's 100% pure American merino wool. And it's from the land of the free and the home of the brave. And
so
it's
that's the United States.
Just to be clear. And it's from Kristen Omdahl.com. So I'll just show you. So you may want to take a mirror to this.
No, it shows up properly.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
It flips?
Yep.
Okay. So this is actually going to look perfect to you. Alright, so that's that. That is my favorite sweater.
So, Scylla's wearing her sweater now. How do you like it?
I love it. It fits so perfectly. And it was...
that was weird. You're like this.
I know. Well, I was trying to show how nice it fit in the armpit area. But even like the stitches and the way it comes together is just beautiful. And then it's long.
Have you blocked it?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Have you blocked it?
I haven't blocked it. In
No?
fact, I've never blocked anything.
Wow. You should start blocking things.
I should start blocking because it will even out my stitches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's that little, I saw a little jogging right there. You can see it on your camera. I don't see it when I look down, but you can kind of see it right there. Mm-hmm. So blocking will fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
So you are the person who has all the finished objects because I don't have any. So you have one more.
I do. I have two more.
Yeah.
So when Marcia was trying to convince me to knit a sweater for all of that time, she was also trying to convince me to knit socks.
Yeah.
Convince me to knit socks.
Convince you.
And I don't know if any of you saw our special Sorrento on the Road podcast where I got to be a guest.
So you have socks.
So I have socks. I started these. And this is my very first pair of socks. And it was interesting because while we were there was another woman. Do you remember her name?
No, I don't remember right now.
Oh. Wonderful, wonderful woman who is knitting using the exact same yarn. And this yarn is Sweet Georgia?
Yeah.
Yes, Sweet Georgia. And I can't remember the colorway, but I'm sure there's probably about 10% of you who recognize the colorway. So if you want to just write it in the comments, that would be awesome. But the other woman who's knitting these socks, hers actually came out a lot more variegated, like this. And because the colors in the socks are... there's a light blue and a dark blue, and then a pink and a purple. And mine pooled where my pink and purple pooled together, and my light blue, dark blue pooled together. But when she did it, hers went like pink, dark blue, light blue, purple, pink, and it came out in a way that was very, very much variegated. More looked like my toe, or my heel. So same yarn, very different socks. We had different gauge, different number of stitches. It's just amazing to see how yarn can work up differently. I love the way it pooled. Love, love, love the way it pooled. And I was trying to show you the top, but that doesn't work when I have them on sock blockers. Yeah, just, I love them. I love these socks. I love the way it pooled. I didn't use a pattern. I knit from my head. Marcia told me how many stitches to cast on. Mm-hmm. And then I just went with it. And I decided to do ribbing all the way down because I tend to have wider calves and I wanted to make sure that it was just going to fit all the way down and not slide down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I chose to do ribbing across the top, and the reason I did that was because my feet are wide, and I didn't want to have to worry about bringing it in and bringing it out for the wide spots.
So that's a good option if you're doing Christmas knitting. You can add extra stitches and then do a ribbing, so that if the person you're giving the gift of socks to needs smaller size, the ribbing will accommodate for that. But if they need a larger size, there will be enough stitches so that the ribbing can spread, and then you don't have to take the around measurement for people's feet so much, and then they're more guaranteed to give a better fit and be tight where they need to be tight and loose where they need to be loose.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so
Totally good. So if I were to knit little person socks for Christmas gifts,
yeah,
that would be a good way to do it.
yes, absolutely.
Because then if their feet were to grow a bit too, there's a little more room in there for stretch.
And I have a thing that I found on the internet. You can just Google it. Children's foot measuring sheet or chart. And I printed it out, and it comes out in the exact measurements for the foot, printed out on the piece of paper. And so then you can figure out from what size the child's foot is, how many inches you need to do it without actually having to measure their foot, because then it doesn't take away from the surprise.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
yeah. Oh yeah, because I guess you say, "Hey child, give me your foot."
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not telling you why.
Yeah. Don't ask me why.
Don't ask me why. So this pair of socks, being my first pair, I also decided to do the heel flap and gusset because I like it. I like the way it looks. And I thought about other heels like the Fish Lips Kiss and the German Short Row.
Yeah.
That, I know all these words now.
I know.
Right? But I really like the look of this heel. And because I like the look of this heel, it's the heel I wanted. And I was a little bit afraid. So the first sock, I knit to the heel, put on waist yarn, and I knit the second heel one to the heel. And then I learned how to do the heel through YouTube. I just Googled it.
It's a great resource, YouTube. Hey?
I love YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's a great resource. You can Google how to do a heel. You can watch really cool podcasts, like the Twitch and Stitch podcast.
You don't even know the name of it anymore.
Very little. I'm articulate today.
I know, it's awesome.
But yeah, there's great resources on YouTube and great entertainment. And so, yeah, so I learned how to do this heel. It was actually pretty simple. So if you're afraid, if I can do it, you can do it. And my toe came out terrible. Marcia hated my toe.
I didn't hate it. That's too strong.
Sorry, my toe made you gag.
It totally made me gag. Okay, but that, to be fair, they weren't even.
No, they were bad.
And I didn't mean to gag.
They were square. One of them had like ribbing that went in like this, and the other one had ribbing that went like this, and it went like that. They were bad. They were bad toes.
I wouldn't say bad. I would say that they were a learning experience.
They were an interesting first attempt.
Yep.
And so those are my toes. I'm not going to show you them on these now. Actually, maybe I will. But the toes on these now are not the toes I started with. So if you are like me, you knit something, and then you knit it again, and then you knit it again, and then you knit it again. And the first time I knit something, it's usually because I'm learning it. The second time I'm knitting it is to show that I've mastered it, and brings me joy. The third time is because I know it well enough that I don't have to think about it. And usually by about the fourth time, it's not bringing me the same amount of joy as it did in the first couple times. It's like eating chocolate for me. I'll find a type of chocolate and I'll be totally addicted to it. And I will eat it for a long time. I'll just keep eating it. And then I don't want that chocolate
every
anymore.
day, 5 times a day.
Every day. Right now, my chocolate that I'm into is Terry's Chocolate Orange.
But it doesn't say Terry's.
It does not say Terry's.
We were just talking about this. Last year, the ones you got said Terry's, and they had the thing on both sides.
On both sides.
Yeah, now they don't.
Yeah, I don't know why, but they still taste just as delicious.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to complain. But it only comes out at Christmas, so I don't get time to get sick of it.
Yeah.
It's like mini eggs. Same thing with mini eggs at Easter. Except now you can get mini eggs all year round. So I try to only get them in
mini eggs.
Easter.
They're too sweet for me.
Yeah?
Yep.
They're super sweet.
Yeah.
Bring me joy.
Bring you all the joy.
And so my knitting is the same way. Maybe it's a personality trait. I'm not sure.
So would you say that socks, which do you prefer? Socks or sweater?
Honestly, I prefer the sweater.
And why is that?
Because it's more instant gratification.
Yeah. Because you're using larger yarn and larger needles. And for these, you had, 152 stitches?
Yeah, across a pair.
For both of them.
Yeah, for a pair.
For a pair. So 152 stitches. And that's essentially what it is at the base of a sweater.
Yeah.
And however many rows. Like this is, if you count the rows on this, it comes up to here. If you change that into this, you're gonna have knitted up to there. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So the amount of knitting is very similar in a sweater and in socks.
except a sweater works up faster.
Yeah.
And so you feel more joy quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a sweater is great for that feeling of, look what I accomplished, look how awesome it is. I brought it to work, I did it at meetings.
Yeah.
And with socks, they took me so much longer. And if you're a newer knitter or, you know, you like the finished object versus the process, I'm sure most knitters also like the process.
Yeah.
But there are people who are destination versus journey people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a destination person.
Yeah.
I like the end product. I like to say, look at this, I made this.
Yeah.
So, like my sweater, it took me a week and a half.
Yeah.
Because once I started it, I had to finish it.
Yeah.
And
I say yeah, and then I look at my pile of whips. I'm like, yeah, I need to finish this.
Marsha's kind of the process.
I'm both.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
If I sit and do something, it gets done fairly quickly. But if I'm doing something, if I get sidetracked by something else, then it can languish for quite a while.
Yeah. But you get not bored easy.
I love the feeling of casting something off. So if I don't feel like I'm casting it off quick enough, then I move on. Right?
Yeah?
Like, yeah.
Wow. I don't like the feeling of casting it off. To be perfectly honest, I cast off my sweater and I wasn't ready to be done with it. I actually lamented the loss of my knitting my sweater. And I didn't expect that. So I took out the bottom ribbing. I cast it back on. I did one more repeat. And then I did the ribbing again and then I cast it off. And that felt better.
Yeah.
And it was long enough, and if I blocked it out, I'm sure it would have been fine. Because there was nothing wrong with my sweater. But I wasn't ready to be done my sweater.
Yeah.
Because it also meant I didn't have a work in progress. So I couldn't just pick something up and knit on it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready to start something new either and commit to something. It was a challenging time in my life, that week and a half.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on your needles now?
I do have a pair of socks on my needles.
Yeah.
They are not very far.
Yeah.
So I didn't bring them to show you today.
Okay. But you have another finished object. Well, almost finished. It's got ends to weave in there.
I do have another finished object. So Marcia doesn't consider an object finished until the ends are weaved in. Woven in. Wow. I tuck them in and it's good to go. See? Now it's a finished object. Hold on, let me finish the other one.
Oh, goodness.
Perfect, finished object. So these are another pair of socks I did. I did these ones also without a pattern. And these are Marianne's yarn.
Yep.
Marianne is
Smith
and New. Smith and New. I can't tell you the colorway because I don't remember it. But also I did
How do you like Marianne's yarn?
I love it.
So we know Marianne.
We do.
From Smith and New.
From Smith and New. We do know her. We met her at Sorrento.
Yeah, and she was at Knit City as well.
She was. And I love knitting her yarn.
Me too.
So I love this yarn. It was amazing to work with. The stitches come out so even. The entire way through there was not a single split stitch. It was just so nice to work with and to wear. I can't even tell you how amazing they are to wear. Like, it just is comfortable, it's breathable, it's warm. My feet don't sweat, but they're not ever cold. it's fabulous, fabulous yarn. And the color and the
very vibrant colors.
Vibrant colors. They're beautiful. Yeah. Like you can see, if you look at this heel, right? This heel kind of did a stripy thing. Just gorgeous. This one did too. There's beautiful yarn. Beautiful. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So this pattern I did a little bit different. I did the ribbing all across the top like the other one. But I only did on the back. I only did ribbing on the cuffs. And part of that was laziness. Because ribbing all the way down the top.
On the front. You said the cuffs. Oh,
yeah,
I see.
on the cuffs.
Just
yeah.
on the top part.
Just on the cuffs. And part of that was laziness because straight is so much faster for me than ribbing. But part of it was I wanted to see how it would fit my feet. And I like it. So this is what I think my sock pattern is going to be from this point on. But yeah, it's beautiful. I might throw in my next one I might throw in some cables down the center. Because that's just what I do. But I will never be a designer. So I will never offer up my patterns because I don't write them up and I don't actually do patterns. I steal things I've learned from other people's patterns and put them into other things. So thank you, all of you wonderful designers out there who created stitches that I can use across different projects.
Nobody creates stitches. They're all out there. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just how you put it together.
Okay.
And that creates a new design. So if you took a cable pattern and you put it up the center, that's your own design. Like if you do all the math, that's yours.
Okay, but what if I take it from somebody else's math?
If you grab somebody else's pattern and you just plunk it in there, then that's not yours.
I know, that's what I'm saying, because that's what I would do.
But if you use a stitch dictionary, that is different again.
Okay.
Because those are resource materials.
So that I'm allowed to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you take something directly from a stitch dictionary and you haven't changed it at all, then you should list that. You're not going to design anyway, but you should list. No. So give credit to that stitch dictionary, so if people are looking for it, that they can find it there.
So it's yarn academia. You don't want to plagiarize.
That's right.
Got it. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you are using something of somebody else's, you give them credit.
Yeah, and one thing that if you do the math, it can, because great minds think alike. If you do all of the math for a project and it looks like somebody else's, but you've spent the time and you don't even know that, and then you publish it and then it comes out that they're very similar, you can either remove it or you can say, I did all of the work to come up with this, because there's only so many stitches. Like the gauge is only so much for a certain type of yarn and a certain, right? If you're looking for a certain gauge, it's going to be the same, but whether you go and you do the math and you figure it out, or if you take somebody else's pattern, you're like, hey, I like all those numbers, that makes it super easy, and then just do your own thing, then that's kind of. So when I'm designing, I don't go on Ravelry because I love to be inspired, but I don't want to accidentally taking somebody's thing and thinking that that's mine.
Yeah.
Right? And also, like, in Susan's class, she gave us the formulas for all of the shawls, and which are the formulas. The formulas are the formulas. Yeah. But up to that point, when I had designed something, I had worked out every row and ripped back until it looked exactly like what I wanted it to look like. So for my schmancy shawl, that one, I knit it and I ripped it and I knit it and I ripped it until
I remember you knitting and ripping that one
until I got the numbers that I needed to get the shape that I was looking for and to make it consistent, and because I didn't know that there was such a thing as like a format for them. So I spent before, just getting the shape of the shawl was the biggest job for me, because I didn't know that there was formats out there. I knew what got what, but I would, and that's happened. I've got a couple patterns down there that they were pre that class, so now I know how to get the shape that I was looking for in an easier way.
That's awesome.
But I have knit and ripped
so many
times to get those numbers, and so it's just like that part was super frustrating for me for a while, because I would have this thing up here and trying to get it out here and having to spend so much time.
With numbers.
With numbers, yeah.
Your newest shawl.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Yes, I had that in my head, and I've had that in my head, in my mind, in my mind's eye for a little while. And after the class, or during the class, when Susan gave us the formulas, then essentially that's what I needed. I just needed the key to the door, because everything else I had already decided what I wanted to do and what it was going to look like. I just needed the formula to make it blossom. And once I had that, then I could put everything else that I had for my ideas into it. So it made it much, much easier.
Yeah, so that shawl is amazing. Mm-hmm. That's so going to be my first shawl when I get to shawl knitting.
Yeah, which tomorrow.
Tomorrow. You've knit a sweater, you've knit socks, now it's on to shawls.
Exactly.
Right on.
Yeah, so that was quite the segue.
Yeah.
And did you have any other finished
No, that's it.
Okay, so thank you, Scylla.
Thank you so much for having me.
And
thank you for watching me.
Thanks for recording this part twice.
Anytime.
And back to you, Marcia.
And back to you, Marcia.
That was exciting. Are you excited? Oh my goodness. So proud. So proud. Proud sister here. Yeah. She's so cute. As she's knitting it, she's like, I love it. It was so adorable. And I think she's going to cast on another sweater. So that's super exciting. I've knit a lot of sweaters this year, and I think that helped pass on the bug to her. But I'm not going to take credit for it because she also got to meet Jane Richmond, which was amazing, and she loved it. So I just want to leave this here and say thank you all so much for joining me today. Thank you for sitting and knitting and for all of the communication that we've had. If you like this video and you're not subscribed, just subscribe below. And if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Until next time.